Hey everybody, welcome back to the Anointed Leadership Podcast. I'm your host, Terry Linscott. Once again, I'm so grateful that you're joining me. Excited about dropping this one. This is actually one of my favorite coin phrases that I'm going to talk about today. I'm talking about excuses are doorways to failure. It's something I say a lot to a lot of people. I'm titling this No More Excuses. And I want to challenge you today because so many people it's so easy to make these excuses in our life. We've given ourselves permission to fail. I'm not opposed to failure, but I am opposed to actually intentionally failing because I don't want to take responsibility. We're going to jump into that episode today here in just a moment. But before we do, a couple things like I always ask you to do. First of all, if you've never subscribed to the channel on the platform you're watching on or you're listening to, I'd ask you to hit the subscribe, hit the notification bell. That way, every other Thursday we drop one of these, you'll be able to be notified it's dropped. If you're listening to us on the podcast, we also are on YouTube under Terry Linscott. I'd ask you to, if you want to show this to your team, you want to watch it in a certain manner, jump there, subscribe to the YouTube channel. We would appreciate that. Secondly, if you would do me a favor and share this content with somebody that you believe it would add value to, whether it's a boss, a leader, a pastor, a business owner, entrepreneur, anybody else that you believe that this content would add value to them and help them, please do me a favor, share it there, share it across your social media platforms. We at the Anointed Leadership would really appreciate that, and you're helping us. The third thing is if this content is adding value, I have a website, terrylinscott.com. There's an email button there to connect with me. I've been receiving quite a few emails of the content, helping people. I love to help you. I would love to talk with you. I'd love to offer some assistance, even ask questions. So do me a favor, leave a comment on the platform, send me an email. Let's connect and let me help you grow in your leadership today. Again, let's jump into the content today. This is the episode I'm calling No More Excuses. Like we always do is we read a Bible verse, and in the book of Luke chapter 14, verses 17 and 18, I want to read this. This is the parable of the wedding feast. And it says this, verse 17, and sent his servant at supper time to say to those who were invited, come, for all the things are now ready. I want you to look at that. All things are ready now. Go, come on, it's time to come. But, verse 18, and I hate the word but. The but is got to go outside in the can, right? We can't bring our butts to our leadership. We can't bring our butts to our life. We can't bring our butts to our visions. But it says this, but they all with one accord began to make excuses. It made the owner furious, right? So he began to invite anybody. I bring this up because excuses are way too easy. We make it very easy to fail. We make it very easy to not accomplish. We make it very easy to not succeed. We make it very easy on ourselves to not fulfill our responsibilities. We can all make an excuse. And we've made permissions and we've made waves and avenues for people to just keep making excuses to us to not accomplish. Us as leaders, we make excuses. We take the responsibility off of ourselves and put it on underlying situations that we need to eliminate in our life. Why? Because excuses, they're doorways to failure. If I give myself permission to make an excuse, I'm actually making permission to fail. I'm going to create failure. I'm not going to find success. And the real people, real leadership that has got great success, they have canned every excuse in their life. There's no ability for you just to tell me, no, it can't happen. Yes, it can. Where there's a will, there's a way. And we have to change our mindset. And I want to dive into that today. And so here's what I coined this one phrase: excuses are doorways to failure. I've been saying it for many years. And in my life, I'm doing everything I can to not bring up an excuse. Yes, but this is the reason why I can't do that. Yes, but this is the reason why I can't do that. This is what an excuse looks like. There's always a reason. And if we give ourselves the ability to make an excuse, we will always give ourselves an ability to stay right where we are. And I want you to look at this. Everyone has an excuse, just like Everyone has armpits, and almost every one of them stink. And that's the reality of excuses. They just stink. And we have to make a decision, a conscious decision, to get every smelly thing out of our life. My nose is a very sensitive. I walk into areas and I have this smell. For some reason, it's heightened in my nostrils, and I smell things. I can smell nasty and I smell good. And when there's something nasty, man, I've got to deal with it. For example, my grandchildren, we have a little booster seat in the back that we use in our cars for our older grandchildren. And it was in my truck and for a few days, and I kept smelling this thing like, what is that smell? And nobody else around me could smell it, but I could smell that thing. And eventually I realized it's that stupid booster seat. So I took it out, I washed it, it smells good. And the minute I took it out, the smell changed in my truck. I want you to understand something. When you get rid of your smelly excuses, things actually change. It's an automatic adjustment. It's not something that takes a ton of time. It's an automatic adjustment. It begins to become fresh again. It becomes refreshing. It's not something that you turn your nose at, you don't want to be around. It's actually refreshing. When you and I make constant excuses, let me help you with something. You're not the one that even knows it stinks. It's everybody else around you. And leaders, or those that are striving for leadership, the reason why people won't follow you is because the lifestyle that we have developed, the lifestyle of excuses, has caused people to be deterred from us rather than attracted to us. People watch our lives. They watch what we do, how we make excuses, how we give permissions for failures all the times, or shortcomings, or not achieving our goals. And we've got to eliminate it in our life if we're going to be completely successful. I read a couple thoughts, that I wrote these things down, and it says this: excuses allow people to save face and protect themselves from being judged harshly. I thought about this for many times in my life. Excuses allow people to save face. They just protect themselves from being judged harshly when they underperform or fail to meet the expectations of others. That's what excuses do. It causes us to protect ourselves, save face, and not be judged harshly. And here's what happens is the people that are accepting your excuses are saying things like this: I get it. It's okay. I understand. Some things are out of our control. That's what this means. It's when we fail to meet the expectation. We have to realize that expectations are the breeding ground for miracles. I preach this in my messages. Expectation is the breeding ground for miracles. And if you meet the expectation, the miraculous will happen. Well, what happens is we cancel out the miracle by the excuse. And this is what we're doing, is we're protecting ourselves. We're more interested in the way people see us and not being judged harshly. So we're so quick to bring an excuse. Man, I tell you what, this is one of those things that when you stop worrying about what people think about you and you recognize the vision and the goals and the dreams are more important, right? I wrote this other one down. Excuses shift the focus from personal responsibility. We take it off of ourselves. Like, the reason why I couldn't get that done is because I was waiting on material. This is what I'm trying to explain. It shifts the focus from personal responsibility to a cause beyond my control. People make excuses because it's a painless way to escape from a compromising situation. It's a painless way. It's just, take me out of the way, take me out of the equation. And so what we do is we say, I can't do that because I don't have this part, I don't have this material, I don't have this resource. So now I put the blame on something else rather than recognizing that I should have planned properly and thought that all the way through 3 months ago. This is what happens, is instead of saying I failed, we blame it on something else. That's what excuses do. And it makes it so much easier in our own conscience because it doesn't feel like it's our fault. I want you to hear me understand something. There's excuse-addicted people. The root issue almost always stems from a lack of personal responsibility. This is where excuses come from. It's the lack of personal responsibility. And if we're going to be great leaders, if people are going to follow us and we're going to lead people into greatness and help our entities, our organizations, our churches succeed, we have to stop pushing blame onto everyone and everything else and actually take up the root problem and its personal responsibility. Not one of us likes to feel like we have failed. Not one of us likes to feel like we are the reason why things don't happen. Not one of us likes to be the responsible partner or entity in which something didn't come about. We are always pushing it off onto somebody else. We will drum up conversations, we'll drum up statements that push the blame to somebody else. That's what an excuse does. And the excuse is a doorway to failure. And so what I did is I actually looked at these things, and I picked out 3 things that in my mind of why people make excuses. We make excuses to not accomplish, to not do, whatever that looks like. And here's the very first one, and I wrote it down, is this. Very simple, is familiarity gets the better of us. That's one reason why most people make excuses. If I brought this down just to the most simplest area, is this. We are much more comfortable in our actual weight and our physique, which is why we don't hit the gym. We buy gym memberships, we put plans in, we open up a January 1 calendar, we say we're going to get healthier, we're going to feel better. We start the gym, we put these unrealistic goals that I'm going 7 days a week, right? And I'm going to be there an hour. We're going to really hit it hard. We're going to lift a lot of heavy weights. And then the little bit of pain, a little bit of resistance, a little bit of struggle, and we just revert back to what we are comfortable with. When we become comfortable with our previous decisions rather than striving for change, that's where familiarity sets in. And this is the reason why most people make an excuse. We don't want to push ourselves. We don't want to really change. We're comfortable where we are. Familiarity gets the better of us. This is why we make excuses. We don't plan properly. We don't organize ourselves properly, whatever that is, because we're comfortable with the way we're living our life. We're comfortable with, if I just looked at diets, we're comfortable eating the junk that we eat. We won't push away the sweets. We won't push away the sodas. We won't push away the expensive coffees with all the sugar in it. We won't push that away because that's a defining factor us. That's a comfort zone. It's familiarity. It's what brings me peace. It brings me satisfaction. And that's why people make excuses. We bring in the familiarity of the lack of responsibility. Bring in the familiarity of it's okay that I just don't get that done. Everybody's going to be okay. I'm not going to lose it's familiarity. It gets the better of us. We have to become so uncomfortable with familiar things that we force ourselves to make adjustments. One reason why that we make excuses is familiarity of what used to be. We're comfortable. It's okay. We would rather stay the way we are. Our dreams. It's simply this. We make excuses why we don't accomplish our dreams or our visions or our hopes. And it's because the comfort zone of living as I am is so much more familiar to me than the uncomfortable of the unknown of doing something greater with my life. And the people that you find succeeding, excelling, doing great things is because they were tired of the familiar. They were tired of the mundane. They were tired of it. And they pushed past what was familiar to get to where they are. And here's the thing, when you push past what is familiar today, you create new familiarities. You create familiarities of success. There's some people I find is that they say this, everything they touches turns to gold. Well, that's because not everything did. They did something. They unlocked something in their life. They learned to be successful. And now everything turns to gold, it looks like. But you and I don't see what they pushed past to get to where they are today. You have to beat familiarity. Number 2, we doubt ourselves. This is why excuses coming in. We don't feel like we're good enough. We don't feel like we can accomplish it. We don't feel like we're the guy. We feel like it's too big for us. The insecurities, the things that I've never done, we doubt ourselves. Here's what I mean. You get started well. Most people will start well. Our initial enthusiasm is met with insecurities and fear of failure. Our initial enthusiasm, you'll do research, you'll sit down, you'll write down dreams, you'll write down goals. We're coming up into December, and most people are starting to think about January 1. We're thinking about a new year. We're reflecting on 2023. What did I do? How was it? I just met with my staff the other day, and I told them, I said, listen, What we did in 2023, we're going to have to double that because that's just the type of person I am. I'm not interested in staying where I'm at, and I'm not interested in keeping the vision where it's at. I know that I'm helping run this vision, and so are they. So you got to push past, and I've become so familiar with increase, and that's much better than it is with lacks of, right? But I want you to also understand this one thing. When your initial enthusiasm, you'll do it in December, you'll start writing it down. It becomes met with your insecurities, your inabilities, the fear. What if it don't work? These are the things. We'll do our research. We got our excitement stirs with on the inside of us. We've got our plans. And this is what happens for the most part is we begin to tell people of our goals. We tell people of our dreams. We tell people, I'm getting ready to do it. And this is what happens. That conversation is met with things like this. Are you sure? Are you sure that's worth it? Are you sure you can really do that? And here's the questions now that ignite insecurities that are already in me. The enthusiasm and the drive that you and I have is now met with an opposition to reveal the insecurities that people don't even realize what they're saying to us. And it's other people that are looking at you like, I don't know that you can do that. I'm not sure. And it reinforces what's in us that we're suppressing and beating by doing the research and enthusiasm. And this is what happens. We begin to doubt ourselves and make excuses of why I can't do it, why I can't go there, why I can't go do this. It's a doubt we just don't feel that we're good enough. This is why we bring excuses. Number 3, one reason, familiarity gets the better of us. We prefer to live where we were. 2, we doubt ourselves. Number 3 is real simple. We're afraid. We're just completely afraid to do it. We're afraid to step out. We're afraid to do something different. We're afraid that what if it fails? We're afraid of these things. We are ready. Here's the thing. We are ready to be stretched and to step out of our comfort zone. We're ready. And we're usually met with the underlying fears such as encountering failure, rejection, making mistakes, or being judged by others. These are the things that we're afraid of. We're afraid of what if it don't work? We're afraid of people looking at us and laughing at us. We're afraid of, we want people to like us. We want people to support us. We want it, but we're afraid if they don't support us, right? Here's the thing, maintaining these beliefs of the failure of rejection, making mistakes, or judged by others, if you continue to maintain these beliefs, it limits you from moving forward instead of embracing the unknown. These thoughts, I'm afraid of this, the self-doubts, the familiarity, these limit you from moving forward, embracing what's the unknown. What is the unknown? If you looked at my life, I don't have time today to tell you, my life is totally different today because I took the step out of the unknown and doing the things that are just impossible in the mindset of man, especially the location we live in. But I'm watching God do what he said he would do because I stepped out. If Peter would never have thrown his net outside the boat, he would never have caught the fish. If he would never have thrown his net and never would have caught the fish, he probably would never have followed Jesus. If you don't do what you don't feel you can do or should do and do it, you will limit yourself and what God really wants to do this. You may resist the uncomfortable feelings or use them as excuses to avoid feeling the fear of and doing it anyway. You have to resist the uncomfortable feelings. Right? You have to, and you got to push past that uncomfortable and step into the new realms. Why do people make excuses? 1, we make them because of familiarity. 2, because we doubt ourselves. 3, we're afraid. Here's what I want to challenge you with. Here are 5 things that I said, if you'll do these things, it'll help stop making your excuses. And I just kind of, these are what Terry goes through in my own mind. This is how I live my life. Number 1, here's how I stop making excuses. I become vision and goal driven. I'm not driven by emotions. I'm driven by vision. Emotions is what you find in all of those 3 areas that I put down as why people make excuses. It's all emotional. But if you get the emotion out of the way, by the way, I did an emotional discipline podcast not too many weeks back. I challenge you to go get it because you got to remove the emotion out of your success. People that are successful are very limited in their emotions. Why? Because you are vision or goal driven. You have established it, you're going to chase after it. To do this, you have to transform your mindset. You have to stop thinking about how I feel. You have to stop thinking about how people see me or what people think about me, and you have to start thinking about the greater picture of the passion burning on the inside of you, the vision, the goal, the dream, whatever that is. You have been living, listen, a day-to-day or spontaneous lifestyle. And to adjust your lifestyle, you have to change your mindset. This is what it means. Most people don't have a vision for tomorrow. You don't have a vision. Whatever day you're listening to this, most of people don't even know what their agenda is for tomorrow. You don't even know your agenda for 2 weeks from now. You don't even know what you're doing in a month from now. This is a day-to-day lifestyle. People that are vision or goal-driven, everything they do is pointing in the direction of the success of the passion on the inside of them. You have to change your mindset. You have to do things you've never done before. If you get up every day and you then figure out what you're going to do for the day, you are already steps behind. You should know what you're going to do tomorrow by the end of today. You should know what you're going to do in 3 days by the end of today. This is vision driven. Everything I do is on purpose and intentional. Why? Because I'm vision driven. If you're going to quit making excuses, you have to become vision and goal driven. You got to realize, number 2, you have to take responsibility. You have to stop telling yourself that it's okay not to accomplish. You have to tell yourself it's not okay to not do something. You got to take complete responsibility. Understand, I read this in the very beginning. I thought I put down, most people making excuses is because they are the ones not wanting to take responsibility. It's not as painful if I remove responsibility off of myself and put it on something or someone else. No, take responsibility. I failed. I didn't do that. I didn't make the phone call. I didn't order it in time. I didn't get the right thing. I didn't plan properly. This is what it means to take responsibility. The only person responsible for your future is you. Not Apple, not Amazon, not your boss, not your entity, not the people around you. You are responsible for your future. You determine what your future is going to be like. And if you don't start taking responsibility and start pushing it on everybody else, I promise you'll be in the same place you are today next year at this time. Why? Because you're just keep pushing the blame on everybody else because you're too familiar where you are. Start being okay with failure. Start being okay with I didn't do it properly. Start being okay with taking the responsibility. When you realize that no one else has the power to change your life, nor is giving you the level of effort that you think they're giving you, you will realize your life is in your own hands. Nobody else is giving you the level of effort to change your life. They're working on their own life. Nobody else is helping Terry Linscott. I'm helping Terry Linscott. I don't mean that degradingly, but the reality is even everybody around me is focused on their life just as much as I'm focused on my life. And if I take responsibility for my life, right? If I will do that, I will see my success come to pass with God, with the help of God, of course, but I've got to stop blaming everybody else why I didn't become successful and start taking responsibility for my own success. Here's what I want to challenge you with. I talked about familiarity got the better of us. I wrote this thought down as I studied this, is your past is not your future unless you dwell there. Your past is not your future unless you dwell there. Your past is not your future unless you dwell there. So whatever you've had up to this date, if you stay there, you will continue to see what you're seeing today. You must take responsibility. This is how you stop making an excuse. 1, you become vision and goal driven. 2, you begin to take responsibility. You take it for your own life, your own actions, and your own mishaps, shortcomings, and failures. Take responsibility. 3, you have to shift your perspective. You have to shift it, and you won't shift your perspective until you take responsibility. And you won't take responsibility until you become vision driven and recognize where you're supposed to be working it out. When you take responsibility, you begin to see that problems are actually opportunities, not obstacles. When you shift your perspective, that problems, they're not obstacles. They're actually opportunities. They're opportunities to learn. They're opportunities to grow. They're actually opportunities, listen, to point to your failures. There are absolutely opportunities to show you where you didn't properly plan, where you didn't properly order properly, where you didn't properly communicate clear vision, clear goals, and how you're supposed. That's what happens. Is it's opportunities rather than obstacles. But we look at them and we think they're obstacles, they're hindrances. No, man. Pay attention to them and change your perspective there. Right? Life is happening for you, not to you. This is a mindset. It's a perspective. Life isn't happening to me. My life is not a lemon with all the lemons, or it's not lemonade. It's not bitter, right? It's not this sour, bitter thing. It's lemonade. It's sweet for Terry. Why? Because it's not happening to me. All these things around me, they're not happening to me. They're happening for me. They're actually education to Terry. I'm learning how to adjust different things. I'm learning how to use technology to the benefit of the kingdom and the vision. So we're figuring this out. It's not problems. They're actually opportunities for growth, right? Everything that has happened in your life has brought you to the moment you're in right now. If you'll change your perspective, it could be hard. It could be a hard life. It could be dramatic and traumatic, right? But realize it's brought you to the moment you are right now. And you can either transform your life or keep making the excuses. It's your choice. Change your perspective. This is how I quit making excuses. 1, vision and goal driven. 2, I take responsibility. 3, I shift my perspective from problems to opportunities. 4, I uncover my limiting beliefs, the things that I believe about myself. Well, until you change your perspective, you won't realize what you're actually thinking about yourself, what your belief system is about yourself. When I say this, this is where most excuses come from. We have limitations through various reasons. This is where our excuses, because we don't feel we're good enough. It's actually negative self-talk. And it's actually the identifier of your limitations. The things you say about yourself: I can't do this, I've never done that, I'm not good enough, I'm not creative enough. I'll share one. My own life, I say things, I'm not that creative, but yet I'll preach a message and it's a creative message. It's thoughts that have come to me. It's things, there is creativity in Terry. I limit my ability to really become a writer or a speaker. The more I talk about, I'm not that creative. It might not be that creative and artistic, but I am a creative individual because God created me to be that way. I can communicate things. I can grab people's attention with my work. That's creative. And I've learned one thing: I have to shift my limitations. I have to uncover them, my limiting beliefs about myself. I don't care what people think about me. I'm looking at, what is Terry talking about in my life? What's the negative self-talk? Right? And when I pay attention to those types of words, not what other people say about me, but when I pay attention to the way I talk about myself, the way I think about myself, I'm going to uncover limiting beliefs about myself. And what happens is, when I uncover those limiting beliefs, I'm changing my perspective now of where I'm going, and I'm recognizing what's holding me back, and I'm going to shift that thing. I'm going to uncover them, those limiting beliefs. 1, here's how I get out of excuses. Very simple today. 1, vision and goal driven. 2, I'm taking responsibility. 3, I'm shifting my perspective. 4, I'm uncovering the limiting beliefs about myself. Ask yourself those questions. What keeps me from doing ABC? What keeps me from going to the gym? What keeps me changing my diet? What keeps me from stepping out? What keeps me? And you start talking to yourself about it. That's your limiting beliefs. Now what we want to do is shift our limiting beliefs. We want to take those, change the perspective of those. We want to take responsibility. We want to add the vision to what we're doing, and we want to step out and do it. 5, how do I stop making excuses? I wrote it down this way: change your story. Just change it. Change the stories, change your reputation, change the perspective of other people around you. How do I do that? I replace the negative self-talk and limiting beliefs with my words and my efforts. I start talking better about myself, and I start believing better about myself. I stop thinking about where I was, and I think about where I'm going. I stop talking about everything that I've disappointed myself and others about, and I start talking. I change my life with my words. The power of our words, we don't even recognize it. Whether you're a believer or an unbeliever, this is the understanding. There's life and death in the power of your tongue. And those who eat it, that love it, will eat the fruit thereof. So start talking. I got this. I can do this. I can do this. I'm able. I'm capable. I'm strong. I'm willing, I'm successful. And you start building yourself up because nobody else will. You're the leader of your life. Nobody else is giving the effort to your life like you are. So change it. Put it into the mirror in the morning. Put your Post-it notes around and how great you are, how amazing you are, how confident you are, how more than able you are to do everything that's on the inside of you. When you do that, listen, it's going to shift some things in your life. Remember this, excuses are doorways to failure. No more excuses today. How are we going to shift it? 1, you're going to become vision and goal driven. 2, you're going to take your own responsibilities. You're going to stop casting blame elsewhere and take the pain of failure in your own life. 3, you're going to use the perspective differently. You're not going to look less of yourself. You're going to use those obstacles and change what you do to make sure you succeed next time. 4th, you're going to uncover the limiting beliefs, and you're going to identify them, and you're going to change your story with your mouth. This is how we get out of excuses. Take the responsibility. Hey, I challenge you, go home. Think about it today. Do it tonight sitting down. Where in my life I have to adjust and take the responsibility so that I don't have excuses that are doorways of failure, but I create doorways of success by simply taking responsibility, and I will change my story when I do so. Hey, till next time, I call you blessed, and may the anointing of God get all over you in your leadership to help you do everything God's called you to do.